May sound strange, but I'm not really a guy that wants to have his name on like billboards or whatever. So I always want to do the best possible for the music. So how is life in France at the moment? Is it also like completely quarantine?
Like I live in the very center of Lyon. I don't know if you know the city. I've seen,
Yeah, of course.
I've seen you play like 6 years ago in Lyon with Backermate.
I Love Techno?
Yeah, I think so. I don't remember the name, but there was a lot of DJ, and there were also Backermate.
I think I'm not sure. I think it was I Love Techno. It was a pretty big festival back then.
Yeah, it was a very big festival. And I was at the first lane, I remember.
Oh, that's fun.
So first of all, do you want to introduce yourself for people who don't know you?
Okay, my name is Ben Rodenberg. I'm known for playing a lot of shows in France with Bakermat. I've been playing with Bakermat for I think 8 years already. So it's a long time. And but I've been doing a bunch of other stuff. I've been playing with artists back in Holland. I live in Holland. I'm from Amsterdam, and it's a long time ago when I started playing saxophone. I think it's 22 years already.
Wow, okay. I've seen on your website that you started when you were 9.
Yes.
How did you start? Because did you have family in the music, or you were very interested in music or something like this?
That's a really fun story. People ask me a lot because like saxophone is not like a cool instrument for little kids. Like it's not guitar or whatever. But I was born and raised in a pretty musical family. Both of my parents were playing music, but they played. Oh, I have to take the door. It's a postman.
Right,
I'll be right back. It was the delivery guy.
Yeah? Still working at this time with coronavirus?
Yes, but we have to keep distance and all kinds of rules. But yeah, we are so bored right now, so we're starting like ordering stuff on the internet. So every day there are a bunch of delivery guys. Very funny. I was born and raised in a pretty musical family. My parents known each other from music. They both played, let me think, accordion for at least 20 years. Like it's a pretty strange instrument, but back in the day, it was okay. And when I was 9, I just had like an idea of starting music as well, just as my parents. But not really. Like I didn't fall in love with saxophone right away. My first instrument that I wanted to play was, I think, electrical guitar. I wanted to be like a cool guy with a guitar. But my mother, she didn't think it was a good idea. So my second choice was drums. And even drums my mother didn't like. So and then she said, let's go to the local orchestra, and you can choose whatever you see. And then I saw this lady playing the saxophone, and I thought, oh, it looked very interesting. It was shiny, a lot of buttons, and when you are 9, it looks pretty cool. So my third choice was the saxophone eventually.
Most of the time you want to play it, maybe a bit after when you're older.
Yeah, it is. I think I have some students that started playing saxophone when they are like 23, 25, or even older. Yeah, I don't know why, but it's starting to become a cool instrument. But but when you and I were young, it wasn't really a cool thing to play saxophone. But it's getting there, so that's very fun.
what type of, what kind of music do you like playing? Like, did you always like playing the like electro music, or you prefer playing jazz or something else like this?
Um, I like to play like almost everything, but I studied jazz music at the conservatory in Rotterdam, in the Netherlands, and so jazz has a special place in my heart still. But when I was, I think about 15 years of age, I wanted to do more poppy kind of things, and so I started to do more pop gigs with pop bands and artists and so on. And when I was 18, a guy from Amsterdam called me for some gigs that he couldn't do with the DJ. And so I started playing with DJs when I was 18, and that was like 14 years ago. And back then it was pretty new. There were some guys in Amsterdam that already were playing with DJs, but it wasn't as big as it is right now. So it started to rise like 15 to 20 years ago. But I still like playing with DJs as well, and I do a lot of shows with artists with the original work. But I also like to play blues music. I like to play pop music. I like to play jazz music, even though I don't play as much jazz music as I would like, because there's not so much work in the jazz industry in Holland, and the market is really small, and you cannot earn like a lot of money with jazz music. So I choose to focus my to focus my ability on pop music. That's where my focus is right now.
Okay, great. I've seen you've played with Bakermate, Mr. Probs, Flick Flack, so very famous electronic artists. How did you do to meet them and everything?
That's a big question. Let me think. I started with Bakermat. We've known each other from a booking agency where we both were back in the days, and his manager introduced us to each other, and so that was like 8 years ago. And on the side, I was still like doing work on my own, and a friend of mine was the producer of Mr. Props, and he introduced me to Mr. Props, and so I started working with him as well. And Flick Flack, I think I know the guys from. There was this festival in Holland, and they were invited by Lodewijk, by Bakermat, and so we started to talk to each other, and then then they had a track laying around, and they wanted to play the track with saxophone, so they asked me. So it all goes like mouth to mouth, and you meet people when you travel a lot, and so it goes very naturally. Actually, it's not like people send me an email through my website. Sometimes it happens, but most of the times it's very organic, and it's very natural that you meet each other and then you decide to work on music together.
Okay, thank you. Have you always wanted to be a pro saxophone player?
Not always, but yeah, I think when I was around 12 to 13, I was pretty serious already. So, and I didn't know anything else to do. So, so saxophone has always had my focus. To be honest, I don't have a plan B. To be honest.
I see. What's your favorite show you've ever done so far?
Oh my God.
Like the biggest stage, or I don't know, the favorite moment in your mind?
So much. That's a good question.
Because, for example, I've seen that in the electro music, you've already played in Tomorrowland, for example.
Yeah.
I think like it's a growl when you play in electro music, no? Like doing a festival like this.
Yeah, of course, of course. Tomorrowland is one of the biggest, and but if you play Tomorrowland for the first time, it's very special, and it's always very special. But after, I think we've been there 4 to 5 times, but now it's just like, oh, we're gonna play Tomorrowland again. So it's still very special, but it's not as special as in the beginning because you get used to the whole thing. And but the first Tomorrowland was really fun, was really special. We were a bit younger and we were like, oh my god, we're gonna play Tomorrowland, so that was really cool. But to be honest, I'm not sure what my favorite show was. We've done so many cool shows in France. We played in Olympia in Paris, which was very special. We've played in Lyon, I Love Techno, which was a really cool festival. We played festivals in Marseille that were really cool. So yeah, that's a really difficult question, to be honest. But with Bakermat, my favorite shows with Bakermat were in France, definitely.
And do you still have projects to tour with him or with other artists? Or you're like confined with the coronavirus? You're waiting for new opportunities?
I'm always waiting for new opportunities, of course. And but Bakermat is still going on. We're still going to tour, and but on the side, I'm still doing other stuff. I started a horn section with a few friends of mine back in Holland, so we're going to do some work with that as well. Yeah, I don't have like a focus on like one thing. I want to do a whole bunch of things. I don't want to do only one thing, because if I focus myself on one thing, like on one genre or one artist or one whatever, then my focus is gonna be I don't know how to explain. I'm gonna get bored after a while, you know. So I want to do all kinds of stuff. So my mind stays my mind stays tickled, and you know, I want to be inspired by other musicians as well.
Okay, I've seen you play like in a TV show. You play on stage with different artists, so you have a very huge agenda when you're not confined home. That's correct.
Yeah, actually, it was pretty bad because these months were very full with all kinds of stuff. I had TV shows, I had shows with Bakermat, I had shows with other artists, and because of all the Corona thing, everything is like completely empty right now. I've been home for 2 weeks now, and in Holland, everything is gonna be. Every opportunity to do a show or whatever is going to be closed until I think June, so that's 2 more months. So yeah, we're gonna be bored the coming few months.
Okay, it seems like you're in a studio. It's like you're home and you play all the time the saxophone. What's your favorite part playing the saxophone? Like being alone and working, or being on stage, or
I used to always say that performing was my main focus, but the last few years I really enjoy making music as well in the studio, like creating new stuff with other people. That's really fun as well. But if I had to choose, I don't know. It's both very fun to do. But yeah, I don't know. Performing is really cool because you're on a stage and people like seeing you, and that's really cool. But to be in the studio with people and create new music and like think about the parts that you're gonna play and whatever is also very inspiring. It's also very fun. So yeah, I don't know. If I would have to choose, I would choose I would choose nothing, to be honest.
Okay. And do you write your own music?
Yeah, yeah. I also write my own stuff.
Because I checked on like Apple Music or Spotify. I've only found one track, like featuring Ben Rodenburg. And do you keep them in your computer, or you want one day to?
The things I write are mostly for my own, like, yeah, I call it therapy. It's not like that I want to put it out there because I always think it's not good enough or whatever. But people ask me to play on their records, and then I deliver some saxophone or whatever they want to them. And I'm not a guy that, yeah, it may sound strange, but I'm not really a guy that wants to have his name on like billboards or whatever. So I always want to do the best possible for the music. So what the music needs in terms of saxophone. But I'm not like really a front guy that wants to have his own project, have his own band or whatever. I just want to enjoy a lot of things, and I think when you step out of your comfort zone and be a frontman, because it's not my comfort zone, and start your own project, you are committing to one thing because people want to hear the thing that they know about you. So that's why I don't feel a lot of starting my own band or whatever. I may start my own band, but it would be more of a side project. It wouldn't be my main focus, to be honest.
Okay. What do you think of music sheets? Like, do you like reading a music sheet or writing music sheet, or you mostly play with your by ear?
Yeah, it depends. With Bakermat, I always play by ear because it depends on what kind of gig it is. You know, if you are with a band and in a horn section, it's impossible to remember all like all the articulations and all the staccatos. You cannot remember that, so you need some sheets. But with Bakermat, I've been playing so many times with him that I know all the music by heart. So playing without sheet music always will be my how do you say it? I would like to play everything without music, but if it's not possible, it's a very handy tool. If you can read stuff and you can play with a band and you get a sheet in front of you and you can play it instantly, that's very fun as well. But if you have a solo kind of position in a band or whatever, then in my opinion you have to play without, because you are opening your ears when you don't have sheet music in front of you. And if you have paper in front of your face, I always like dive into the music and I forget to open my ears a little bit. So I always want to, wherever possible, play without sheet music.
Okay, you think you can become a good saxophonist if you don't know how to read music sheet, or if you know how to read them, that's not very well?
I think becoming a good saxophone player is not like really dependent on reading music, so reading paper, because playing saxophone is much more than just reading sheet music, I think. But it's a very handy tool if you want to know some songs, and because if it's in front of you and you see what the notes are, it's much easier than to listen to a track and play back again, and that's also very handy. No, to be honest, I don't think you need to read sheet music to be a good saxophone player. No.
Thank you for your answer. What would you recommend for someone who is starting saxophone? Do you think you have to start when you're a little kid to be a good saxophone player, and you can start anytime? what the first thing you recommend if you, for example, if you learn someone saxophone, if you teach someone saxophone?
I don't think you need to start when you are very young. I had a teacher on the conservatory, and he started when he was 25. So that's pretty, yeah, it's not really old, but it's not young anymore. Because when you are 9 or 10 or whatever, young kids learn so fast, you know. If you teach them one thing, and after a week they already figured out all kinds of other things because they can remember stuff very easily. But when you are 25 or even older and you want to learn saxophone, yeah, just do it. And I think it's important that you go to a teacher. That's the most important thing, because if you are gonna learn yourself playing saxophone the wrong way, it's very hard to learn yourself different, you know. So from the beginning, I would suggest that people go to a teacher that they like and that they have like a connection, like a good connection with, and study very often, and not like 10 hours a day, but even like 30 minutes or 20 minutes a day is already very good, in my opinion.
It's best to play like 20 minutes a day than 10 hours for every week, for example.
Yeah, definitely. I think after when I was in the conservatory, I had a period that I played at least 6 hours a day, but after 3 hours, I didn't. I could still like do finger gymnastics, as I call it, but it wouldn't go in my head, you know, after 3 hours. So, and a lot of people already have it after 30 minutes. So if your mind is like already tired, you should stop and take a break, or move everything to the next day or whatever. But don't commit yourself to play so much every day, because I don't think it will keep you triggered for a long time. You know, if you do it 20 or 30 minutes a day, it's more than enough.
Okay. And last question, what do you think of playing a second instrument? Is it like it's best to focus on one instrument so you can be the best at it, or is it okay to play, for example, 2 or 3 instruments?
It depends on what you want in your music life. You know, if you want to write some songs, for example, it's very handy to play a little bit of guitar or piano. But if you really want to focus on saxophone, then you have to focus on saxophone. And if you are like on a point that you are that you want to do some other instruments, why not? I also play flute and clarinet. Actually, I just started playing clarinet a few months ago, just because I want to be more, how do you say it? Be more versatile as a saxophone player, so people can also hire me as a clarinet player or whatever. But it's also when you play clarinet, you also because the fingerings are so different than saxophone, you also learn for your saxophone, because your fingers are getting more independent. And with piano and guitar, it's the same thing. So, I think it's very good for your musical life to do other instruments, but it really depends on what level you are and on what do you really want.
Okay, thank you very much. And can you say, I don't know if you speak French or at all, but can you say...
Un petit peu.
Can you say, c'était Ben pour mon coach de sax?
C'était Ben pour mon coach de sax.